Hey guys, how's it going? So today I want to talk to you guys about context compaction, and this has been the bane of my existence. This has been the biggest problem that I've been facing when using AI. So long story short, I was creating another skill, right? This video, first of all, just for starters, is going to help you understand how to avoid context compaction. And if you don't know what that means, it means you're not using AI enough in your work. If you genuinely try to use AI to its maximum potential, you're definitely going to run into some sort of context compaction problems when you're beginning. Of course, if you're advanced, you would have already sorted it out, then that this video is not for you. But what it means is that I was trying to create another skill since the previous skill was like super popular amongst you guys. You guys really love the job application skill. I then realized, you know what's another very time-taking task? Job hunting. You know, like finally going out, seeing who else has posted it on Twitter. It's still in the making. I'm still like testing it out a little bit, so I will not be putting this out. But while making that, I was doing like a couple of test runs, right? And I realized that my context was getting impacted 8+ times. And for those of you who don't understand what this means, it basically means that there was so much information that one AI chat could not take it in some sense, and it was basically summarizing all the things that would have happened. The problem is that this was happening 8 times over at every single prompt. Like even if I would just say, okay, do this, it would start to summarize what had happened, even though at this point nothing had happened. I just asked it to do a simple task, and I was really confused. But with a couple of fixes, I have gotten myself to a situation where most of my lengthy co-work tasks in Claude are not being faced with context compaction. Now, how is this happening? Basically, I asked Claude to diagnose itself, and this was basically what was happening. I was going across Twitter, finding really cool, co-work plugins and skills and stuff like that, and I was just like, going ham shit crazy on this. I was downloading everything I could find, and I was trying to use all of them at once. What I did not understand is that basically before every time Claude is running in the background, any kind of request that I was making, it's pinging to each of these skills, pinging to each of these plugins, and I have PubMed plugins and clinical trials, installed already because they're all coming from Anthropic, right? So if Anthropic is putting them out there, maybe it's important for me to download them because it's smart, right? Well, no, it's basically like inventory. You know how we used to like play video games back in the day, right? And there would be a backpack maximum capacity. If you keep your backpack full, you can't exactly do the work. It slows down your character. You cannot exactly pick up the skills that are actually going to be helpful. And the same thing was happening here as well. I had way too many things installed on my MCP files, on my skills, for example, and it was not helping at all. Secondly, I asked it which ones to kind of like ditch out, and you can see like it asked me to ditch out like most of them. I kept a couple of them, like for example, desktop commander is a really good MCP. I will do like an A/B test of whether or not desktop commander is really worth it or not for me particularly, but I've kept that in there for now. Secondly, very importantly, when I was moving over from ChatGPT, one thing that I had done was that I had asked it to summarize everything about me, and this is before Anthropic came out with their one-click switch button from any kind of other AI application to Claude. So I had to design this myself, and I had gotten like a really long answer from ChatGPT, of course, right? Because I had like 2 to 2.5 years worth of data, and I put all of this in the preferences section of my settings, which was a huge mistake, guys. So basically, if you have followed along up until now, my best advice is remove any kind of connectors that you don't use. So if you are, for example, a design professional, you don't necessarily need the SEO audit, man. You can get rid of the SEO skills that you've just downloaded from like the marketing section, right? The marketing plugin is practically of no use to you. Remove any kind of skills that you would have gotten from the internet that you're not exactly using, any zip files that you would have uploaded. Remove the plugins that you're not using. And most importantly, review the preferences that you have right now in settings. You know what my preferences say right now? Don't use M dash. That's my preference. That's the only preference I have right now. I basically have deleted the entire thing from my preferences because right now Claude already has a decent enough history of me based on the conversations I've had with it, and it can basically guess it completely fine. I was actually thinking of how this would impact it, so I made a copy of all of my preferences and saved it in my Telegram, but I never actually needed it. In fact, I completely forgot that I've removed preferences. And I would also reduce global preferences selected for co-work. If you don't know what that is, you're going to find both of these last two settings in your settings menu, and then you can go and preserve a lot of context that's basically being taken away from all of your co-work actions and causing those context compactions to happen in the first place. So I hope that really helps you out.